All right. Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Movement Podcast. We have my man, John Martinez, in the house today. John is the founder of the REI Sales Academy. He's a top real estate investing sales trainer. If you guys have been in the industry for long enough, I'm sure you know who he is. But John, happy to have you on today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ben.
Absolutely. I'm excited for this episode, man, because to be honest, John has defined himself as one of the pioneers in the sales space as far as real estate investing goes. He's got his boot camp, his REI Sales Academy boot camp. And when it comes down to it, I think understanding seller psychology is one of the most important things when it comes to acquisitions in this industry. And John knows this better than anyone else. So we'll take a deep dive today. Probably go back a little bit to where it all started, John, and then we'll talk about the progression to where you are today.
Cool. Perfect.
Love it, man. So I know you've been in sales for quite some time. You know, you got a lengthy background in that. Where did this all start?
Yeah. It probably started the same way a lot of investors' careers start. You just end up fed up with where you're at and you decide to do something new. So it was really early in my life. I think I was 19 or so. When I was working at a catering company delivering food, and we delivered for pharmaceutical reps. So I interacted with them all the time, and they were professionals with the company cars and nice salaries, and so that was my idea of what sales was. So I decided at that point I'm going to get into sales. So that was the beginning. That's when I made the choice, and I started at the bottom of the ladder, all commission sales, selling insurance door to door. And over a couple of decades, just kind of worked my way up the corporate ladder, taking on bigger roles with bigger companies.
Love it. I love it, man. At what point did you realize that staying inside of the corporate world was no longer for you? Like, what inspired that shift?
Man, I was depressed. Like, I was just done with it. I would wake up every single morning, and I remember the exact thoughts going through my head. I'd wake up every morning, and it was always the same. And I would start thinking to myself, is this the next 20, 30, 40 years of my life? Like, is this it? Is this all I've got, right? Just the corporate world and kind of playing that game and working your butt off, but only moving up a little bit at a time, making other people tons of money. And I was doing well, but still not as well as I hoped to do in life, right? We were still basically living check to check, had a lot of nice stuff and things like that, but I was nowhere near where I was hoping to be. So there's only so many mornings you could take that and just think, is this it? Before you kind of break. So that's what happened to me. And it's not like I had a bad job or anything. I had a great job, loved the company, loved my boss, but it was more of just, is this it? And as I thought, this is how I'm going to live my life for 20 or 30 years, that depressed me. So it was at that point, I remember it was like Christmas Eve or the night before Christmas Eve when I looked up from the couch and I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go into sales training. And I remember she just looked back at me. She goes, okay. And I was like, okay. So I got on GoDaddy and I found a domain name. And that was the moment I actually made the choice and jumped into it.
Wow. That's one of those things. It's where when you get to the point where the pain is greater than the reward, right? Like you get to that decision point, it's like the fear to step over this side of, the platform and get over that pain. Is it going to be more painful if I take the jump, and see what it's like on the other side of that fear? Or is it going to be more painful staying where I am, living miserable, depressed, not happy with progression? I think that's where it starts for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, well, maybe some of them just have that drive and that spirit in them, but a lot that I've worked with and talked to, some know from a young age, but a lot just, live their life thinking they're living doing what they're supposed to do, living the American dream. And then you accomplish it and it's not all that it's cracked up to be, right? So then you got to find another way, and entrepreneurship is usually that other way.
It is. It's a long journey, And sometimes, as we both know, entrepreneurship can be painful too, but the growth that you experience on the other side of it, it's something that you're not going to, in my opinion, experience just about anywhere else.
Yeah. It's always fun looking back at painful moments and reminiscing, but it's never fun going through them, right? It's always, it's fun to tell the kind of the war stories and all that kind of stuff. But man, when you're going through them, it is not fun.
Yeah. So let's talk about the early stages of the REI Sales Academy. What was that like? Obviously coming in, you had a mindset, okay, it's time to create something. I'm going to take the skills that I already have and produce them, put them down into a replicatable product that I can help other people grow as well. So what was that process like in the early stages?
Yeah, it went really quick and really smooth. And the reason was I wasn't really bringing, from a sales perspective, anything earth-shattering into REI. The stuff that I knew, the processes, the tactics, the techniques, all that stuff has been around for a long time, and I had been practicing it in kind of the business-to-business and corporate world. But in the real estate space, like a lot of other industries, when it came to acquisitions or sales, it was a lot of outdated tactics and techniques being used, which just meant they weren't as effective as they could have been. So the transition into real estate was really effective because to that industry, I was bringing something completely new, a completely fresh flavor that was a lot more effective and eliminated a lot of the stuff that suck about sales, right? Feeling like you got to be pushy and always going for the close and like all that kind of stuff that a lot of people just aren't built to do. And it turns out there's more effective ways to do it. So that was my entrance into the real estate world, but I didn't know anything about the real estate world. So I spent the first year just working with clients one-on-one. I would just travel the country and I'd go buy houses. And I had spent about a year doing that, probably bought 100 or 200 houses just so I could take the sales process I knew and make sure that it meshed up perfectly with the real estate investment industry, because it's a different type of sale. There's a lot of unique things when you're buying houses for cash in 60 to 90 minutes at 60 to 65% of ARV that you just don't experience in other sales industries. So took a lot of time to get to know the business, and it's one of my favorite industries I've ever worked in.
That's incredible. So when you started formulating the process, did you know in the beginning that real estate was it? Did you know I want to be a real estate sales trainer? Or did you kind of fail forward and figure that out somewhere down the line?
Yeah, I mean, my approach has always been kind of make something happen and then figure it out, right? So like when I decided to get into sales training, I didn't have a documented sales process. I didn't have a training program, but I decided to do it. I sold my first client and I said, okay, now I got to figure it out. So each week when I do a training, I'll figure it out that week, right? And that's how I did it. In real estate, it was a lot the same, right? I said, I know I'm effective at sales. I know I can teach this stuff. I don't know this industry, but I'll get it figured out. And we got it figured out pretty well. And I didn't know it was going to be the one and only industry I focused on a year later. But it was one of those things where the current took me there. Our reputation grew. People had some really good results. So, masterminds and things like that, they tell each other. So we just kept getting more and more clients. And over the course of that first year, I ended up firing all of my other clients from other industries that we worked in, a lot of local stuff, and then some other stuff across the country, and focused 100% on REI since then. So I didn't have any idea, but it really happened organically.
That's awesome. So you took massive imperfect action, right? You got out there, failed your way forward, took your skills, brought it to market, found some clients, got plugged in. And then out of that, you identified what is the most effective means, or what's the most effective industry that if I just have laser sharp focus and become an expert in that industry is going to produce the best results.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge believer in leverage and letting the market tell you what it wants. So many times I'd say in my career, and then even trying new businesses and things like that, I would come up with an idea that I thought was magnificent and then kill myself trying to get it out into the public. My thinking has changed over time to, hey, the market's going to tell you what it wants. You just have to listen. And it was the real estate investment industry for me. It was a big need. There was a lot of a pull there. So I went with it.
That's incredible. So let's talk about seller psychology, right? Because I think a lot of the listeners are obviously already in the real estate investment space. So understanding the way that human beings think, right? And the way we think, especially when we're in different situational type of arenas. Let's take a deep dive on that, so understanding distress. What's one of the first processes or mindsets that you put forth to the new people within, the Sales Academy, or for any investor stepping into negotiation?
Yeah, I mean, the core lesson, like what we spend probably the first half of every one of our trainings on, we've got a lot of 12 different courses we typically go through. The first half is always coming to the conclusion that sellers are not any different than us. It's kind of weird when you grow up in sales and, just being an investor and talking to people, there's a lot of disconnect, and it's easy to fall into the trap to sometimes think like, who are these people? Why do they do the things they do? Why, when I ask a question, won't they tell me the truth? Why, I'm just trying to help them out. Why are they so standoffish or even aggressive? And it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes that we are the exact same. Sellers act the exact same in any situation as an investor, an acquisition manager, or any other human being on the business or on the planet act. So when we do our sales training, the first half of every single session is usually, say this happens to you, right? How would you feel? How would you react? What would you do? What about in this situation? And then all of a sudden we come to the conclusion that the sellers are doing that to me. They're doing that to me for the exact same reason I do it to the rest of the world, right? So wrapping your head around, they're human beings, right? So they're going to behave the same way as every other human being on earth. They're gonna behave the same way as investors and acquisition managers. And once people start to understand that, you already know what the seller's going to do every step of the way. And once you understand what they're going to do and how they're going to react to pressure or perceived fear or the fear of not getting the best deal possible or any of these things, then you know exactly how to navigate that conversation. You know how to navigate through the landmines. You know how to talk to somebody. You know how to react if you're not getting a response that you want. You know why they're doing exactly what they're doing and how to take them through the decision-making process. So I'd say the biggest lesson is they're no different. It's not like us versus them. We got to realize that they act the exact same way as we do. And once you start to dissect that and put all the pieces of that puzzle back together, that conversation in the sales process becomes extremely easy.
I love it. And if you can come in with a service first mentality, right? Not just stepping into the appointment or the conversation saying, hey, what can I make on this deal? What's in it for me? It's more like, hey, how can I best serve this person? Let's look at their unique situation. Let's take a deep dive on it and really analyze where they're at, right? And then as a creative real estate investor, create a strategy or a solution on how we can best serve that person and make some money in between.
Absolutely. The mindset has to be seek to understand, not seek to sell. If you seek to understand, for example, if you know exactly why someone would sell to you, you know what those drivers were, why those drivers were important to them, not just financially, but how it impacts their real life. Are they stressed out? Is it impacting their kids? Can they not do what they want to do? Can they not take advantage of opportunities they want to take advantage of? And why are all these things important to them? When you understand that and you start to talk about your offer, you can talk about it in a whole new way, right? This is what's important to you. I know that. Here's how I help you get there. And then when you understand, we talk to all kinds of people with lots of motivation, but there's also a lot of reasons why people don't act on their motivation. There's a lot of things that get in the way. I mean, for example, you could talk to sellers who are about to lose their house for foreclosure. They're extremely motivated, but they don't take a deal. It's because stuff stands in the way. So when you seek to understand, you can also understand, hey, what are the fears, the concerns? Even if you love the offer, even if you want to you're dying to take action, what's going to stop you? And once you understand those, you can start to deal with them one by one and start to eliminate what you can, and then speak to the others and how you're going to work through them the best that you can. So having that mentality of, I need to understand, and then I'm just going to tell you in very simple terms how I'm going to help you get to where you want to get and navigate around all the obstacles and concerns the best way. You can win deals without having the best offer. Now, if you have the opposite approach and you just want to do the deal, you're going to blow through all that kind of stuff, put the pressure on, turn the screws, and that is proven to get less and less conversion rates.
I love it. So let's talk about that step-by-step process, right? So you have rapport building stage where you just really want to come relate to the seller, earn their trust, right? And figure out how you can come across in a manner that they're going to receive it, right? From there, setting the stage, as you would say, you want to set the stage, remove any objections that might stand in the way so that you have a clear understanding when it gets to the end of the process, if there is any deal killers that are in place, right? Let's go. And then from setting the stage, right, you go through understanding their problem, situation, all that, getting into negotiations. But let's deep dive on setting the stage, because I think that, again, you've outlined this process better than anyone else in the industry, right? And I think that's one of the key points is understanding exactly where they're at so you can dissect that unique situation along the line when you get to negotiations.
Yeah.
So let's go through setting the stage. What does that look like?
So what setting the stage is all about is people are afraid of the unknown. And when we don't know what to expect, we expect the worst. Couple examples, haunted houses. We all know that you go through a haunted house, you're not going to be hurt, nothing is real, but you get freaked out. Why? Because you don't know what's around the corner, right? Yeah. What else is there? If you ever get a text message from a spouse or a significant other that says, we need to talk, right? You immediately freak out, right? Where's your brain go? You're expecting the worst. Now, this is even worse with salespeople because people are really expecting the worst from salespeople, right? Yeah. And especially even more so in REI because people are in distressed situations. Someone's showing up to their house. They don't know what to expect. They might have heard something bad and be expecting the worst. So you've got to take all of those unknowns right off the bat and put them to bed. Let people know what to expect. So usually this centers around three areas. How much time are we going to spend together? So you're not sitting there looking at your watch, wondering, is this going to be 5 minutes or is this an hour? As we go through the whole sales call and be preoccupied with that. What are we going to actually do? No one likes surprises. Hey, what are we going to talk about? How does this work? What are we going to do? And then most importantly, at the end, listen, no pressure. I'll give you the best I got. If it works, fantastic. If not, we did what we came to do. Awesome. We gave this thing our best shot. So covering those three areas, time frame, agenda, and outcome, usually covers 99% of all those fears and anxieties that people go into a sales call or any situation with unknowns with. And it just allows you to ease into the sales call a lot easier and start to build that rapport a lot easier as well.
That's good. That's good. What would you say one of the most common misconceptions that real estate investors have when it comes to negotiations?
Yeah, so I think the most common misconception is that negotiations and sales are the same thing. They're two completely different things. Sales is getting a person to the point, helping them through the decision process where they decide they want to take action. They want to take action with you. They're ready to go. And you've eliminated all of the roadblocks in the way, right? It's the decision. I want to change something. I want to change my life. I want to change my situation. I want to sell my house. That's sales. Negotiation is just relieving one of the many deal killers. Negotiation, one of the things that the biggest things that get in the way of deals is the fear of leaving money on the table, right? This is why people want to think it over. This is why people want to get more bids and talk to more investors, because there's this overwhelming fear of, I want to take action, but am I leaving too much money on the table? Is this a good deal? Am I being taken advantage of? The only thing in the world the negotiation is built to do is get people to the point where they feel like they've squeezed all the juice out of the orange, and now they feel comfortable enough to complete the sale, to complete the transaction. That fear of leaving money on the table is removed. A lot of investors think that it's just negotiation. I'm going to go in and we're not even going to have a conversation. I'm going to say, hey, blah, 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 chit chat. I'll give you 100. They say I was expecting 250, and you're going back and forth. You are going to be maybe 10% as successful doing that than if you had a proper sales call prior to the negotiation.
That's really good. That's golden right there. I hope you guys caught that. So sales, essentially, that's your whole setting the stage and building rapport. Negotiation is laying down the groundwork and actually structuring the offer, right? And then taking the key points from your sales and integrating that into your solution. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. What a lot of people don't know is the sale is actually made very early in the sales call. Usually a good sales call, if we look at just the KPIs of our best customers, the ones that have scaled effectively, the ones that can go into new markets, hire acquisition agents from any industry and just do really, really well because their sales processes are dialed in. If we look at their KPIs, then the average sales call is about an hour before they get to the offer. Now, within that hour, usually about 20 to 30 minutes, the sale's done. The sale's complete. That person already got to the point where I am going to take action. I really, really want to do something about this. And that's sales. When we get to the negotiation, it's just allowing them to do what they want to do. Let me remove the fear of of leaving money on the table. Let me help you get to the place where you're confident that not only is this a great thing for you and your life, but the financial piece makes sense. Because if we just look at the way people make decisions, all decisions, complex decisions are made emotionally and justified logically. So your sales process has to follow that same path. They're going to make the decision emotionally very early on in the sales call. And then when we get to deal killers and negotiation, all that is meant to do is help them apply the logic to the decision they've already made. And I know I kind of got off track there. I start rambling when I talk about sales. I get kind of pumped up about it.
I mean, that's what happens when you're passionate about something, you go in.
Yeah.
That's strong, man. So when it comes to actually closing the sale, right? Let's get tactical with that for a minute. Let's take a deep dive on the strategically how you need to approach that with your mindset, with your psychology, and the tactics you can use to remove those commonly used objections.
Cool. So number one, when it comes to objections, the worst thing you can do is try to close a deal and then deal with objections afterwards. It's extremely ineffective because once you give the offer, people already have what they want from you. There's very little motivation to sit there and keep talking and talking and talking about it and sharing more information. So what you want to do is take all the possible objections and deal with them while you still got their attention, while they're still waiting for the offer, because this is when you got the best chance to do it. So there's a very systematic way to go through the most common deal killers or objections, whatever you want to call them, to go through them all, pull them all out and deal with them early in the sales call. When we get to closing down a deal, we should have basically addressed 90% or so of all the objections. Sometimes there's still some sneaky ones that are kind of deeply hidden. So when we get to the end, we should have the motivation. We should have worked through most of the deal killers or objections, and we make our offer and we ask for the decision. Now, the most important thing you could do, most of the time, you're still going to get some version of, okay, great. Let me think about it. Let me go talk to more people, fill in the blank with whatever put off they give you. That's natural. That's normal. It's a big decision. People don't want to make it right away. So the best thing you could do at that point is take the deal off the table, not in a mean way, not in a vicious way, but simply make the offer. If it's not accepted, then you have to make it a no. One of the most effective rules in sales I've learned is if it's not a yes, it's a no. And oftentimes sellers won't give you that no, so you give it to them. And the reason why this is, and it's scary because you feel like you're killing your own deal, but the reason why this is so effective is if the motivation's there and they want to do something and they're really considering your offer, when you take it off the table, that deeply hidden deal killer comes out. It always sounds something like, no, I'm not saying it's a no. It's just that I'm still worried about fill in the blank. It's just that I'm still trying to figure out fill in the blank. Now we can deal with it on the sales call while we're there, instead of trying to follow up and pull it out of them, which is not usually too successful. The other thing that happens sometimes, you know what, sometimes it's a no. They've already decided it's a no. They just want to let you off easy. You never want to tell a salesperson no. It's uncomfortable. If you've got someone that you don't have a lot of rapport with, you might worry that they're going to beat you over the head with objection handlers, right? We've all been through that. So sometimes they're just afraid to say no, and giving the no now gives them permission to tell you where they're really at. And then that's a good thing, right? I'd rather know if somebody's at a no right now than be thinking, hey, I think they might be 90% of the way there. I'm going to keep following up. You know what to do with it, right? You can at least know where you're starting so you can path your journey forward however you want to. The third thing that sometimes happens is it's just time to make a decision. People take that extra second. They go, you know what? I got to do something about this. Let's just go for it, because it's time to make the decision. So instead of putting pressure on people to say yes, after we are all done with sales, the best thing you could do is, if you get anything other than that yes, you call it a no, because if it is a no, you'll get it. If there's hidden objections, they come out. And sometimes people it's time to make the decision. So they make the decision and you get the deal.
Sure. Let's pivot a little bit to this highly competitive real estate market. Technology is changing the game way quicker than we can even keep up with, right? Where speed is where it's all about, speed and money, right? Hyperinflation, building this big housing bubble. We continue to kick the can down the road, right? Hedge funds starting to corner the market. Knowing this, we'll talk about what we see coming in the future, right? Speculation side of things. But what do you see being most effective in this current state of the market cycle when it comes to closing? Closing over the phone, getting aggressive with it, setting the stage and going through with it? Or are you risking the time that it takes to actually set an in-person appointment and go on that appointment?
Good question. So, we don't even have to wait for the future. Most markets are hyper competitive right now, right?
Yep.
And someone's always got a higher offer. There's always someone else willing to give another offer. There's another bid people can get. So the question becomes, well, I guess the specific question was, what's most effective, face-to-face or over the phone? Number one, speed works, right? You want to be fast. When people have a problem, I think about the old days. I'm only 40, but when I was a kid and you needed something, you opened up the yellow pages, right? And if you dial that first number and they don't pick up, you just dial the second number, right? Now it's on my phone. I think I did it this morning. It called, we had a lock that's broken. Called the first lock company, didn't pick up, called the second one, right? Yep. Speed is your friend. So whether it is face-to-face or over the phone, when a lead comes in, you got to be on it. And your goal there, whether it is over the phone or face-to-face acquisitions, the goal there is to make somebody feel like you're going to be taken care of, because that's what they're looking for. I got a problem. I'm trying to solve it. Once that anxiety goes away, where they go, okay, I'm comfortable. I'm taking a next step. I feel good about this next step. They're not that likely to call more people or reach out more. They're going to see what happens to you. So it's not only being quick, it's about getting someone to that point, whether you're setting an appointment in a day or 2 days, or it's going to be right then on the phone or in an hour on the phone. You've got to relieve that fear of, you got to make them feel like their problem's going to be taken care of, right? You got to make them feel comfortable. If you do that, competition's going to go away for a little bit. They're going to wait to hear from you and go through that process. So I'd say that's most important, regardless of face-to-face or over the phone. If you can close over the phone, that's fantastic. Sometimes a lot of people now have hybrid models where they're going to try to get as far as they can over the phone. Sometimes you get it over the finish line, but if not, the cherry on top is you finish the sales call on site, right? And that's where you get a competitive edge. So speed is name of the game, quality as well, making people feel comfortable, like their problems being taken care of. When I think of that, I think of late night infomercials. I go to bed early, like a senior citizen now, but I stay up all night watching TV. I'd watch all the late shows, and all the way until only thing on is infomercials, and it's all like exercise equipment and stuff like that, right? And the reason why it is so effective to sell high dollar exercise equipment over the TV or online is because people know they've got an issue. They know they've got to deal with it, health or weight or whatever it is. And it's not even that they've started exercising. The act of making that purchase gives them that relief that that problem is being taken care of. And that's why they do it and they never use it, because all people want is that relief. So when we talk about speed and lead intake and that type of stuff, you got to think the same way. We've got to get them that immediate relief where they feel like, I'm taking that first step and now I'm okay. You know, whatever's coming is coming, but I'm taking that first step right now. Just like buying that exercise equipment no one's going to ever use. It gives you that temporary solace. And that's what you got to do when a lead comes in.
That's interesting. It's almost like it changes a chemical pattern in your brain, right? When you make it, it's like a dopamine hit. Oh, there's a relief. And our brain tricks us upon just making the decision without even taking further action towards it. Yeah, that it's in process. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, New Year's resolutions. I'm trying to get in shape right now, and I just can't get my diet down. So it was really eating me up. So I called a guy was recommended from a friend. I bought whatever package, this online package and guidance and stuff like that. And you know what? Immediately, I felt fine, right? It's like, got that checked off my list. That's taken care of. I'm not eating anything different. I don't know what I'm supposed to do yet, but I now feel like that's checked off. That's taken care of. And I move on with my life. I think real estate's the same. People have a problem. They got a concern. They got an issue. First person that makes them feel like they're going to be taken care of, they're going to stop reaching out to everyone else.
Yeah, that's good. Where do you see the industry going over the next several years?
Yeah, I see it really
big.
Go ahead.
Big hedge fund players, right? Big money institutions coming in the market, scooping up more single family houses than you can even keep up with. I mean, what do you see happening? A lot of businesses are going virtual. Virtual wholesaling is blowing up. What do you see happening?
So the landscape will change a little bit, right? We move towards virtual and online, and new players get into the game, but there's a lot that stays the same, right? There's always a lot of options. There's always someone willing to offer more. So while the landscape might look a little different, it's the same issues. The issues that investors are going to go through is, what's my competitive advantage? When there are more offers, why are they going to choose me? When there's higher offers, why in the world would they go with me? It's the exact same problem, right? So solving that problem in this industry is typically that comfort factor. It's typically what we just talked about. It's feeling like whatever company or individual or investor you're dealing with, like they understand your issue better than anyone else, and they're best equipped to help you. Think of it this way. Doctors, right? When people have a big problem, an illness, injury that's pretty severe, there's no shortage of places they can go for help, right? But they seek out usually a specialist of some kind. Sometimes they're all the way across the country. Sometimes they're a lot more than they can afford. Why is it that people, when they have a big problem, go pay a lot more, do a lot more, travel a lot more, take a lot more sacrifice to get that help from a specialist? Well, it's because they believe, because they're a specialist, they understand their issue better than anyone else could or would, and therefore is best equipped to help them. Investors have to think the same way. Why is it that they're going to essentially pay more equity to do business with you? You have to get them to that point where they truly believe this person understands my situation better than anywhere else, and therefore he or she is going to be best equipped to help me through it. That's what you're going for. That's not going to change.
Yeah, that's incredible. Let's shift gears again. Let's talk about your routines, John, because I know you're a highly disciplined individual, right? If you want to stay on top of your game, especially as we get a little bit older in age and, progressing, but we still want to keep that cutting edge. What type of habits have you formulated, whether it be morning routines, workout regimens, diets? Like, what are those key principles that you input into your daily life that help you keep a competitive edge?
Yeah, I mean, the routines have changed over time, but they're still I'm a creature of habit, man. I mean, and some people who know me know I don't like to travel. One of the reasons I really don't like to travel is just because it breaks my routine, right? It's tough for me to keep changing all the time. So every one of my days is the same, and I find a lot of comfort in it. Now, I give myself a lot of wiggle room, right? But basically, I get up, I eat, I exercise, hang out with the kids, shower, do whatever work I'm going to do for the day. And then that ends, and that's my day. And it changes a little bit, right? Sometimes it might be a lot of work, sometimes a very little amount of work, but it's always the same, right? So those times can shift throughout the day. I'm in a position where I think I'm lucky enough to have a little bit more flexibility than I did earlier in my career, but it's still routines. It's the same. I eat about the same thing every single day. I like it, right? Because I know what to expect. And I think routines, now that we're talking about it, they're so comfortable because you always know what you're going to get, right? When you set up your day a certain way, you know what kind of day you're going to have. So usually you set up your daily routine in such a way where you're going to have some positive results. You're going to make some progress. You're going to have a good day. Sales is the same, right? You want a sales routine. You want a sales process for the exact same reason. You want to know the sales call is going to go good. You want to know exactly what you're going to get, right? You want to make some progress. So whether it is your actual sales call or the way you live your life, I think there's nothing more important than routines. Routine is just a process you follow over and over again. And everyone knows how important processes are in any aspect of your business. So I think in your life, business, sales, process is key. I mean, there's very few people who are successful or living the lives that they want, who are just free-willing, no plan at all. Let's see where today takes us, because the day will usually take you somewhere where you don't want to be.
Absolutely. If you were to give a newer investor or a newer entrepreneur salesperson one piece of advice, what would that be?
Yeah, the advice would probably be, don't care about the result, care about the process.
Yeah.
You want to aim for a result, but you don't live and die for a result, because sometimes if you focus on the result, it's like if I was traveling cross country and I said, I want to end up in California, and all I'm thinking about is I'm going to get to California somehow, and I'm just zigzagging across the US, I may never get there. But if I focus on the journey, right? If I focus on, I'm going to go to this state, and once I'm there, I'm going to head west to this state, and once I'm there, I'm going to head southwest to this state, you're going to end up where you want to be. So I think sometimes when it's good to have goals. You got to know where you want to go. But sometimes you get there quick. Sometimes you get there a little slower. Sometimes there's some speed bumps and some obstacles in the way. So I think if you concentrate more on the journey, so in business, the day-to-day, what do I have to do today to progress, to get towards my goal? What do I have to accomplish this week to get there? I think you end up getting there a lot quicker.
That's really good. Yeah. Instead of focusing on the results, focus on the process, the journey, the growth that you're going to go through, right? Because if you're constantly fixated on that target, right, or where you want to go, you're going to get lost and caught up in this journey, and you're going to become miserable because you're not enjoying that process of growing into the person you're created to be.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be a millionaire. Very few people get there. Everyone wants it. Everyone has that goal of some type of financial stability, whether it's whatever number that happens to be. But only the people with a plan who concentrate on the actions they're taking day to day actually get there.
That's good. So you mentioned that you're not big on traveling, and I've heard you mention before about REI Sales Academy eventually not doing as many in-person boot camps.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to actually do my final one. I've always enjoyed them and things like that, but we're kind of on a different mission now. I'm always going to be a part of the REI Sales Academy. I always do the online thing. My mission to keep growing is buying businesses at this point. So my wife and I, our goal is just to buy one business a year. get it to a certain point, already successful businesses, and then kind of back out of them until we have a fair amount of diverse cash flow channels. So I'm stepping back a little bit from the boot camps. We're going to still do them. I have been working with and grooming probably our best student ever, who runs an extremely successful investment business, 30, 40, 50, 70 deals a month. He is going to most likely take over the boot camps going forward. So we'll still do them. I am just going to back out a little bit of the event type of stuff. But I still do a weekly online course. I love doing it. It's not that I don't want to do it anymore. It's just that, hey, in order for me to do something else in my life, what am I going to pull out of over here?
Yeah. That's what's up, man. I love it. Also creates scarcity. Also creates scarcity, man. And people realize you want to get John Martinez in the room. Show me the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, man, you continue to be an inspiration to me for sure. Man, you paving the way for many investors. For some of the newer viewers that have not yet found you, where's the best place to contact you via social media? Should they go to REI Sales Academy? What's the best spot?
REISalesAcademy.com will point you to our YouTube channel, videos, scripts, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the central hub. If you find REISalesAcademy.com, you'll get anything, find anything you need.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, thank you much for coming on and sharing some nuggets today. Pleasure as always, my man.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Ben.
You bet. See you on the other side.